everyone, so this is my review of The Flash, Season 5, Episode 4, called Newsflash. And essentially what this episode is about is that Barry and Iris face their ultimate parental test when this new villain sort of steps up with metahuman tech that is trying to find a way to sort of work with Nora against her own will. And while that's going on, Ralph and Sherlock look into the possible identity of Cicada. And this was a really interesting and great episode that I really enjoyed for this sort of new side of metahumans that they introduced. And just the whole story and reveal of more information around Nora and her relationship with her parents and stuff like that was all just so interesting to see how it all played out. And with that, I did enjoy this new metahuman and what they did where the girl herself wasn't actually a metahuman, but her phone was, because of the fact that when Barry and Nora blew up the satellite, it was full of dark matter. So all the pieces and shrapnel and stuff, when it rained down, it sort of affected other technology and stuff. So now there is the potential for new metahumans to arise that aren't actually metahumans themselves, but the tools and weapons and stuff that they use are. And that I find really cool and interesting because the fact that it adds a new element to the stuff where they can't go and easily tell who's a metahuman who isn't until it's somewhat of too late. And that I really like, and I'm very interested to see what they're going to do with that going forward. Everything with how this metahuman actually used her powers and stuff was cool, where she was a blogger who would post headlines and stuff that would go and actually cause those events to happen by hypnotizing the certain people and stuff like that. And I found it really interesting how she chose to sort of emphasize excess, and by doing that she caused Excess to do a bunch of different stuff to sort of ramp her up as a hero and sort of brought her out of the shadows that she was hiding in for the previous episodes. Then the whole final reveal of the relationship between Nora and Iris was really interesting with everything that told, and I'm very excited and curious to see what's going to happen going forward to possibly mend that relationship, as well as explain some stuff more in detail, where it was discovered in this episode that when Nora was young, Iris put a power dampening device inside her, so then she grew up her whole life not knowing that she had super speed. And then roughly about 6 months ago in her time, she finally discovered it. And that I'm very interested to see what's going forward, and it was just really awesome to sort of see that sort of back and forth dynamic where Nora's venting all her anger at Iris, and it's an Iris that really doesn't understand what's going on yet because of the fact that it all happens in her future. So it was interesting to see how that all worked and stuff, but it was also kind of confusing with how much Iris was willing to sort of take the punishment for stuff that she hasn't even done yet. And I just found that very interesting to see how it all played out. And then I really enjoyed the fact that by the end of this episode, Barry was willing to take Iris's side on her decisions and stuff that she makes in the future. And that was interesting to see how that sort of broke the relationship between Nora and Barry. Then everything with Sherlock and Ralph looking into Cicada was interesting, with them going back and forth on whether or not this breather mask is important, and Ralph just continuing to say that it is and finally going to look into it and stuff, but he ended up finding a whole lot more information than he previously thought he did when he was looking into it. And with that, it was just sort of discovered that Cicada was also affected when the satellite fell apart and fell back onto Central City, where he was hit by some of the shrapnel and it punctured his lungs, so that's why he needs the breathing device to sort of help him to breathe when he's fighting and stuff, because of the fact that his lung is damaged. And that is this piece of shrapnel that's sort of causing his abilities and stuff, and I'm very curious to know if that piece of shrapnel is also the shrapnel that he uses to sort of take away the powers and stuff, or if he just happened to pick up another piece of shrapnel and the other piece is still inside him. Which, either way, that's kind of cool that it's either like this sort of symbiotic relationship between him and all the shrapnel pieces, or that it's like him actually sort of having just this one piece that he has a symbiotic relationship with. Either way, I find it interesting. I'm really curious and excited to see how all that's going to turn out. And then just overall, this was a really interesting and great episode. I'm very curious and very excited to see what they're going to do going forward with how everything turned out in this episode. So yeah, that's my review of Flash. Season 5, Episode 4, called Newsflash. So yeah,